Welcome to another episode. Have you been practicing using your voice and owning your seat? I hope that you have. I hope that you're stepping into your executive seat. I hope that you are recognizing that as a first-year female executive, you do not need to hold yourself back when it comes to using your voice. You have a lot of knowledge. You have a lot of talents, a lot of gifts. You've got to show up and represent your portion of the business, and you've got to add value. That's exactly why you're there. It's exactly why you've been promoted into that seat. Don't doubt the fact that you can be in there and you can have an impact and make the difference. Now, today, let's talk about defining success, okay? Because typically what happens as I'm helping women walk through this is they're like, okay, I get it. I've got to own my seat. I'm there. I understand that. I know that I've got to also use my voice, which means I've got to speak up. But then typically what happens is the fear of screwing it up outweighs the desire to add value. And so then we're still frozen and we're not speaking up or using our voice. And so we've got to go ahead and talk about what success looks like and how to get us feeling more successful and how to move us forward so that we are adding value ultimately by owning that seat, showing up and helping the business move forward, right? So what are some ways that we can define success? What does success look like, and how do we understand what I need to do and how I show up, and where are the answers, Katrina? Where do I look? And I get that question regularly. So, one of the answers is you work with a group of individuals, or you work with someone who can teach you directly how to do it, right? That's one of the things that I do. But there are two other facets that go with that, right? So let's say that you're there and you're watching other people and you're showing up and you have this great circle of executives around you. Well, there are two things I'm going to tell you to do. Number one, this is what I always advise. You've got to find a role model. You need to look around and see someone else who's sitting at that table who maybe has been there for a while, or minimally and ultimately they're showing up and they're truly owning their seat and using their voice. They are the role model of the behavior that you want to show up and display, and they're the role model leader that you want to be. And so step number one is seeking out that role model. Who is showing up and being the role model in the meeting or the meetings or the events or whatever it is, and you're looking at them and you're going, wow, they know how to do it. They are doing all the right things. I've got to show up and be more like them. So identify a role model, and then what I want you to do is start making some notes and jotting down and seeking to understand what are the things that person's doing. Is it a way that they sit? Is it a way that they speak? Is it a way that they ask questions? Is it all of the above? Typically, it's not just one thing. What you're doing is you're identifying the patterns that help them be that successful executive, own their seat, use their voice, show up, have influence, and add value. And so they're successful, and success leaves clues, right? So look for the clues that help that person be successful and start to mimic and follow that role model, okay? That's the first thing I would tell you. The second thing is, and this is the hard one, but it's the truth, you've got to get feedback on your behavior, your performance, the way you show up, okay? You've got to do that. You've got to look for other patterns outside of you, the role model patterns, so you know what to mimic. And you've got to identify the patterns within you that you want to keep and maybe some you want to eliminate, right? And so you've got to look in the mirror, but the key way that you're going to look in the mirror is that you're going to ask other people for feedback. Hey, did what I say make sense? Did I speak up at the right time? I had this idea. I was going to share it. Should I have shared that, or was it smart to probably hold that back, right? You're seeking feedback. It's very, very normal. You're learning as you go, right? And so the way that you learn as you go is you're seeking regular feedback. Now that could be from a peer, it could be from your supervisor, it could be from all of the above. There's no wrong answer, but feedback is critical and you've got to ask for it. So those are the two key primary ways to really maximize your ability to use your voice. Find someone who's doing it exceptionally well, identify their patterns, understand what they're doing, and start to mimic and do the things that they're doing, right? That's number one. Number two, identify your patterns and keep the things that are serving you well and eliminate the things that aren't, and grow through role modeling the role model, right? Modeling the role model. That's how this happens. That's the key. Now, again, here's the kicker. Maybe you don't have someone that you can model regularly. You've got somebody, they're great, but maybe you only see them twice a month. All right? Or maybe you're just not ready to ask someone in your company for feedback. That feels too vulnerable. You're not ready to do that, and that's perfectly normal. The bottom line, though, is that you've got to do those two things. So you've got to find a way to look for someone and model successful patterns and behaviors. You've got to learn those key strategies. And then you've also got to get feedback on how you're doing. So if you cannot find that in the workplace, you've got to find that somewhere else. We're happy to help you, but I need you walking away from this conversation knowing that the way you become successful at owning your seat is using your voice. And the way that you become successful at using your voice is that you model the pattern of behavior that helps you do that successfully by modeling someone else and by looking within yourself and keeping what works and eliminating what doesn't. And you've got to be able to have someone help you do that. So find someone to help you. We're here if we can do that for you. Grab the workbook so that you know how to navigate this process. And then if you're ready to step into the group program and get help with modeling and patterns of behavior and feedback, hit the information link here in the post or go to careerconfidence.life and learn more information about it. As always, go and be legendary.